On Hindsight Hurts today, we have a special guest speaker. This is someone who was close to my nephew. He was a very close friend. He knew BB's son very well, and he has his own hindsight moments looking back that haunt and hurt him currently, and wanted to speak as to his relationship with our beloved AW that took his life back in January.
And once again, before we get started, I just again would ask that if you're having suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideations, or if you know someone who is having those thoughts, please call 988 or give them the number 988 so they can get the help, resources, advice, whatever they may need to not make that decision that can't be undone.
BB from Hindsight Hurts asked me if I would be willing to share from a close friend's perspective on what happened with the passing of her son earlier this year. So I figured the logical place to start would be when our friendship really began. As best I can recollect, it's been about 13 years since we met each other. We met at our church. We were both attending. We both had children. I have children similar ages to his girls, and just through events that they would be participating in and just our Sunday school class, we developed a friendship over the years. And as years passed, we had times where we were able to serve together through different projects at our church, and I was able to go on mission trips with him to Nicaragua and serve alongside him there, and just grow our friendship and to a deeper level. And then, not too long after our last mission trip together, he went on one final mission trip with his friends from another church that they were trying to start up, and him and his wife and his children were starting a satellite church for one of the other churches in our area. So at that point, I didn't really see him on a weekly basis, but I stayed in contact with him. I tried to help out where I could. I would occasionally me and my family would come and visit them at their church they were starting and help out where we could. And then maybe a year after that, they were able to help start a mission church out of state in Louisiana. And I would keep in touch with him as I could via text or phone call every now and then. And I would see him if he came into town to come back home to see his parents or be with them. I would get opportunities to see him as they visited. And then they went from there to farther out. They moved to start a church out in the Iowa area of the country. And prior to him heading out even to Louisiana, he was ordained here in Jacksonville, and I was able to be at his ordination ceremony. So, and be a part of that with our family. So we'd always had church as a common grounds, our beliefs, our goals to be in the ministry, and that strengthened our bonds. I had known his parents for longer than I had known him from going to church, but I think we had a good friendship. I always joked I was his right hand guy. I would help him out with organizational stuff where I could, and I joked I was the Barnabas to his Paul. So after he moved out to Iowa to start the church there, and him and his wife had separated, she came back with the kids, and he remained up there. And it was less frequent that I would get to talk to him. I'd reach out to him every now and then just to touch base, but for the most part, we didn't really speak to each other. And then it was about August of last year. One night I just happened to see just a weird Facebook post from him on the internet. It was kind of out of his norm context, and I just tried to reach out to him and just check in on him and see how he's doing. And I was finally able to get him to call me and kind of talk him through some stuff. He was having kind of a hard time, having some struggles with his faith. A lot of his struggles had to deal with, choices he made when he was younger that just, where he got arrested and been in legal trouble, and it just kind of haunted him kind of throughout his older years. He was with jobs and just opportunities he wasn't able to have because of that. And just at that point in time, he was just being really super hard on himself, and just kind of beating himself up. And I probably talked to him for about 30-40 minutes that night, and just prayed with him, and told him I'd do whatever I could to help him out in that situation. And he'd actually come not too long after that. He got to come back to our area and be with his parents for a while, and try to work some stuff out, and with his legal troubles he was in. So I got a little bit of time to hang out with him at that point in time. Then it ended up going back to where he was, and we had kind of fallen off again with our conversations. And then he came back to town when his father had to have open heart surgery, and I got to see him a little bit. Then I dropped him off at the hospital that morning, so he could be there for the surgery and just be there with his mom during that time. And I could tell that he was still having some struggles, still having a hard time. He wasn't really open with me about everything that was going on. He's more just kind of put it on a good front with our brief time we had together then. And then a couple months later, he got to come back to town. He decided to move down here and stay with his parents and try to get some stuff turned around. And I had multiple opportunities to talk to him. He was having a lot of struggles with his faith, a lot of issues with believing God and who he was, and a lot of questions that he asked me to try to kind of help him with. And I tried to do what I could to answer his questions. I tried to do some research and just have some back and forth times with him where we would discuss, what his thoughts were, and it seemed to be going all right. He was making progress. I always seemed to be able to get him to where he could kind of step away from the situation and look at things differently, and just kind of take a step back. And I thought we were making pretty good progress. And then it was probably 2 or 3 weeks later, I had sent him some stuff, some information that he had asked me to check into, and I was trying to do my best to find answers he was searching for. And I sent him the stuff, and I was just following up on that, and he just kind of brushed me off and just told me that everything I'd sent him was, it was what it was, but it wasn't going to change his mind about how he felt about God, and how he felt that God had he didn't care about God at that point in time, and he decided he was just going to be done with it, because he couldn't get the answers to the questions that he had. And I was concerned through our conversation. And I tried to find out where he was and if he would let me come see him so we could talk, because I had some good conversations in person with him, and it always seemed to go better in person than via phone or text. So I was hoping he would let me swing by after work or let me take him out to dinner, so we could kind of talk about whatever was going on and why he had taken a different turn than what we had been discussing. But he wouldn't. And he just told me that he was done with talking about it, and he didn't want to talk anymore. And I told him I wasn't really concerned about the questions. I was more concerned about him. If there's any way that I could come see him. And he just told me he was done. And that was December 28th of last year. And that was the last conversation that I was able to have with him, which wasn't a great ending, final conversation to our relationship. And then the following week we went, me and my family went on vacation out of state. And I got back on the 6th of January. Hadn't really been able to talk with him or touch base with him. Went back to work the following Monday. And I'd been at work maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And I received a call from my pastor, which wasn't all that out of the ordinary. He calls us from time to time. I'm the youth director at our church, so it's not unusual. But he told me that BB's son had taken his life, and that just hit me hard, because I knew at that point in time all the conversations we had and all the things that we were talking about and all the hopes that I had for him to turn it around and come back home and get some stuff straight weren't an option anymore. I was just kind of numb at that point. I was worried about his mom and his dad, and I got the stuff wrapped up at work so I could leave, and I left, and me and my wife went over to their house to do whatever we could do to help with them just handling the news and handling all the things that came with the news, and just praying with them and just trying to be a presence. There's not a lot you can do in those situations that provides comfort, but you try to do what you can to help them. It's hard to lose a friend that way. It's hard to, looking back, have that conversation that wasn't, you weren't in a happy place in your relationship when you talked to him last. And it seemed like there was so much promise and so much hope for him turning the corner and getting stuff straight and getting some things off his plate that had been bothering him a long time, and just kind of over his head in the situation. And as much as I wanted to help him through that, I wasn't able to do any more than I was able to do. And now I try to do my best to touch base with his family from time to time, checking on his girls and see how they're doing, and his other children as I can. And I keep in touch with his mom and dad, and try to help them with whatever I can with what they have going on. Looking back, I mean, it's the what ifs that eat at you from time to time. I always feel guilty that, a lot of times I feel like I think about him more now that he's gone than I did when he was around, and what could I have done reach out during those struggling times. Should I have pressed harder to see him? That night in December, should I have done more to try to get him to a stable place, to get him to open up and talk to me about what was going on. The only solace I have is I rest in the fact that I'm certain that he was saved, and I think he was just having struggles with his faith at that time, and I hold to the hope that I do get to see him again one day. But I hate it for the now. I hate not having that friend to talk to. I hate it for his family. I hate it for his children that have so many different things coming up down the road that will be moments that he's not there. I hate it for the fact that, as I also pursue ordination, that he won't be there at mine like it was at his. And it hurts. And it makes me sad, but I think all of us have tried to make sure that the people that we love know we love them and we're there for them since his passing. I think we try to make the most of the moments we have together and make sure we don't just take things flippantly. But I just want everybody to know that there's always hope. There's always somebody there. There's always somebody that cares, that's willing to talk to you, talk to your family, and try to help you out of whatever despair that you're in. That it's not a hopeless battle. And I hope that through the podcast that they've started, that people realize what they're going through and realize that there's help out there, and that they don't have to choose the option and the route that he took. But they can seek help and overcome what is bothering them. So I hope that through our conversations that we've had, and through the many other people that have spoke, and those that will speak in the future, that an impact will be made on somebody, so they don't have to deal with the same outcome that his close friends and his family are dealing with now. So I just thank BB for the opportunity to be able to share part of my story, and in hopes that it helps someone down the road. Thank you.
And before LJ closes us out, I just once again want to say, if you're having suicidal thoughts or ideations, or if you know of someone who's suffering and having those thoughts, please call 988 or give them the number 988 so they can call and get advice and help and resources or whatever it is that they have to offer. Thank you so much for sharing your story and y'all's friendship, and thank you for being our son's friend.
This gave me goosebumps listening to this friendship, memories, and hindsights from this man and good friend of AW. This sort of loss affects so many people, and friends and family have so many hurtful hindsight conversations they wish they could have known to do something. But in my heart of hearts, I don't think any additional actions or words you wish now you could have done differently, if only you knew, would have changed the end result. Unfortunately, suicide victims suffer alone sometimes in their thoughts and eventual actions, and any additional words or comments or actions couldn't have changed the ending, I don't think. For anyone going through this loss of a loved one in this way, we encourage you to share your stories. You can remain anonymous if you so choose. Please contact us on hindsighthurts@mail.com, on our Facebook page at Hindsight Hurts. We also are on Instagram and Spotify, and of course on our YouTube channel, where we release every Tuesday morning. Thank you for listening.